And so the final thing that we have as part of our call is an analysis of the Democratic primary results, which we conducted, and that is we looked deeply into how these candidates have been doing. I used to do this kind of work at Our Revolution when I was the electoral manager over there, analyzing how the candidates are doing and the prospects they have in November, for example. And some of the results of that were very stark. And so it's something that I think that the movement should be aware of because we really need to consider it very highly when we're thinking about what kind of strategic approach we're going to take in order to win elections in terms of reforming the Democratic Party or creating a major new People's Party. So this is something that we need to share with the rest of the movement, especially when it can appear, when we have folks like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's victory recently. Well, it's important to emphasize that she was the exception to the rule, really the exception to the fact that the great majority of progressive candidates are being shot down. And so what we found when we looked at the congressional candidates that Our Revolution, Branding Congress, and Justice Democrats have endorsed, who have had their primaries so far, there are 53 such candidates that they've endorsed. Out of those 53, there were 21 who have won their primaries. That doesn't sound so bad until you analyze what the districts are that they're winning. And what you find when you do that is that all but 4 of those candidates have won in deep red districts. And so that's to say that nearly all of the progressive candidates who are winning their primaries inside the Democratic Party, who've been endorsed by those organizations, are winning because they're uncontested by the Democrats, because these are districts that are so heavily red, they go double-digit Republican every year, and they're so consistently red that the DNC writes them off. It doesn't even run candidates in a lot of them. It doesn't even contest. And so that makes up the large majority of the wins, 17 out of 21 of the wins for Congress. And out of those 4 candidates who are actually in Democratic-leaning districts, who are the 4 who are likely to win, out of the whole 53 that they've endorsed, the 4 that are likely to win, out of those 4, 2 of them are incumbents. 2 of them are already there, Jamie Raskin and Ro Khanna. And one of them, Chuy Garcia, won because he made a deal with Rahm Emanuel and Luis Gutierrez, who was the former congressman who was stepping down, for that seat in exchange for supporting establishment politicians and in exchange for supporting Mike Madigan in Illinois, who is the establishment party boss, head of the Illinois Democratic Party. So he made a corrupt deal for that seat. So that's 3 out of the 4. And the one other one is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. So that means that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is the only person who has unseated a congressional establishment Democrat during this entire 2018 midterm process. So let that sink in. How many millions of dollars have gone into progressive campaigns? How much organizing energy has gone? How many resources have gone into these campaigns? The great majority of which, when they end, they vaporize. They don't leave any organizing infrastructure. They don't leave something that you can compound upon, month after month, year after year, build upon, like a new People's Party. It's not a permanent structure. These campaigns vaporize when they're done, and there's nothing left of them. And so this is something that we'll be putting out in greater detail, because it really is, it's very stark, and it's a wake-up call that really I don't think this is what people had in mind when progressives said that we were going to launch a political revolution, for there to be only one district in which we are unseating a corporate Democrat out of all of the districts in the entire 2018 midterms, out of the 192 Democrats who sit in Congress. So once we put that out, I think that, and I will appreciate that all of you definitely share that, because it is important that this information get out there, because it's a pretty stark commentary on how efforts to reform the Democratic Party are going. And I want to emphasize that this is not because our revolution and Brand New Congress and Justice Democrats are doing a bad job. It's not their fault. They're doing the best they can in a rigged system. It is the system that is the problem. It's the party that they're trying to work in that is at fault here. And the party rigs the primaries in so many different ways that we've talked about before against the candidates. That is one major thing that holds progressives back. And the other aspect is that you're competing within a more conservative, older, and whiter electorate, which is the primary electorate, which is not representative of the much larger general electorate. And so it's a more conservative demographic that you're already running in, which is not as progressive as the general population, and you have the party blocking you, and the combination of those two things makes it extremely difficult as a progressive strategy and unviable as a progressive strategy. And the last thing that I'll mention is that year after year, decade after decade, more than a century of trying to take over the Democratic Party has shown that there is a model for how the Democratic Party holds back progressives that they have refined at this point. And that is, they block most progressives in the primaries and prevent them from getting through. But then those few who make it through, the party machine gets to work on them, gets to work on reeling them into the establishment. And without fail, it does. It reels those candidates into the establishment, those few progressives who make it through, because the moment that they win, they need to ingratiate themselves to the establishment in order to pass any legislation. They need to befriend neoliberal committee heads in order to be able to have their legislation even, pass, get out of committee. They need to support other corporate Democrats who are running in swing districts in order to maintain the party's favor and to be able to try to get anything done as well, to get any support for your legislation. And they need to be able to do the same thing in avoiding primary challenges, well-funded primary challenges from the establishment. And so there's all of these mechanisms that exist to prevent that really neutralize progressives, even those few that do win. And so this is why the movement needs a systemic analysis. It's not about getting honest enough individuals. The people, the people who have won, they mean the best. I'm sure Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez means the best, but they're then thrown into a system which forces them to conform with the party orthodoxy, or either be thrown out, not be able to advance, or even lose their livelihood, because that becomes their profession and their job.